So, this is the trolley joke. In the let's go a little back further. San Francisco, obviously, is a very hilly city. And in order to kind of cope with this, like, it's a very important city, but, it's really difficult to get around, especially you have to imagine before the advent of cars. So, of course, they invented the trolleys. They had a lot of trolleys. And this specific joke occurs during the Great Depression. So basically, you have to imagine that our I would say our main character, he is a conductor of one of these trolleys. He helps run the line, but, it's the Great Depression. Times are tough. And also he is fundamentally, I would say, a good person. So, people will hop on without their fare. People will ask him for free rides. People will kind of underpay. And he can't say no to that. So essentially he lets people kind of ride for free sometimes. But this comes with the complication that the company is docking his pay when they find out that he's done this. In fact, they do it like they basically like give him back taxes of what he's owed. So he's desperate. And conducting trolleys doesn't pay much anyway. And now he owes money. And he's got a wife and kids. So one day he decides he's going to rob a bank. And he goes into the bank and he, sticks up the cash register. He points a gun at the lady and he's like, "Give me all the money in the safe. I'm robbing this joint." Bada, 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 bada. But this lady, weirdly, she sees through it and she's like, "Sir, I know this isn't you. I know you're not a bad person. So I am going to, you don't have to do this. Like, I promise there's another way. Just put down the gun and we can talk about this. We'll figure something out." Then he starts to lower the gun. He's not that kind of person, really. She sees right through him. But she presses the little, the emergency buttons that banks have under the counter. She presses it and all of the, alarm bells start ringing. People freak out. And this man panics just from the alarm. He flexes. He accidentally shoots and kills this teller. And not only that, she was pregnant at the time. So he kills her unborn baby. Of course, he goes to court. It's a very easy, quick trial compared, it's the 1930s. They don't have time for anything. So basically, he is kind of vilified in the local media and he goes to jail and he's going to get the death sentence. And he's been sentenced to death via the electric chair. So, months go by. His lawyers are appealing. But eventually, it's clear that his, date is coming up and none of the appeals are going to work. So they essentially, they come into his room. They shave his head completely. They shave all his head, his beard. He's got a little beard by now. They shave it. And they say, "Sir, what do you want for your last meal?" And he says, "I will have a barrel of sauerkraut and 1 grape." And they bring it in, and he scarfs down the entire barrel of sauerkraut. There is not even the juices left. He's licking the what are they called? The little bands of the barrel. But the grape is untouched. In fact, the grape is just sitting in the empty barrel, which everyone thinks is kind of weird. But nonetheless, they take away his last meal, and a priest comes in and reads him his last rites. And, he sleeps fitfully. It's the night before his execution. But the next day, they come in and they say, "Are you ready, son?" He says, "Yes." They take him to the room where they're going to do it. They sit him down in the chair. They put a bowl, the little thing on his head with the little curlicue. The curlicue that looks like a pig's tail. And they basically, they say, "Do you have any last words?" And he looks in the audience and he goes, "Rutabaga." And they're all kind of confused, but nevertheless, they throw the switch. And nothing happens. Mysterious, curious. So they turn it off. They turn it back on again just to double check. Nothing happens again. Okay. They take him out, they put the next person in, and they try it again, and it works. So clearly it's not the chair. So everyone is kind of like baffled. Now, it is agreed by the powers that be that they're just going to send him to, a different prison that has the most powerful electric chair in California at the time. His lawyers are, of course, constantly appealing. They're saying, like, he's already technically done his sentence. You can't do this, blah, 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 blah. And, of course, his family is, now in the newspapers, spare our dad, yada, yada. But, of course, there's also all these articles that are like, baby killer, blah, blah, blah. So it's a mess. And ultimately, the desire to make a show of him outweighs the ability of the people on his side to help him escape. So he sits in prison for a year, and then essentially the time comes again. There's no more forestalling his fate. And they come in and they shave his hair. By now he's got a pretty big beard. And they shave off all his beard. And they say, "What do you want for your last meal, son?" And he says, "I'll have a barrel of sauerkraut and a single grape." And he eats all the sauerkraut. And again, it's the same thing. They go to take the barrel away. They hear a little noise as the grape just rolls around in there. He didn't touch it, but all the sauerkraut juice is gone. And the priest comes in, reads him his last rites. He sleeps very fitfully. He's already faced execution, but he's scared. And the next day, they wheel him out, and they say it's time. And they bring him into this new room with this, very fancy electric chair for the time. And they put the little metal plate on his head, and they put the little, squiggly, it looks like a pig's tail, got a little corkscrew. And they say, "Do you have any last words?" And our man says, "Rutabaga." And suddenly, they pull the switch. Once again, nothing happens. He's sitting there, kind of like awkwardly looking around, kind of confused, blah, blah, blah. Like, people are gasping in the audience, because at this point, it's kind of a big deal. And people are murmuring. Some people are like, "Oh, it's a miracle," blah, blah, blah. And they wheel out, even just the guy who's going to fix the chair, he's testing it, and he gets electrocuted and dies. So clearly the thing is working. But at this point, it's a controversy. And the governor of California goes on record. The governor of California says, "We will not stand for this evasion of justice. We will get this man. We will make an example of him. No one in my state is going to, not pay their dues," or whatever. And the governor of California commissions a huge stadium that will seat people to watch him fry. And, it's going to have the world's most powerful electric chair at that time. Thomas Edison is gonna, they found some records from Thomas Edison on how to make AC even more shocking, and they use it. They're right. There's this whole process. By now, the man's lawyers are clearly blah, 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 long appeals, long media, long everything. But in 3 years time, they're done building that stadium. The tickets are already sold, and the appeals have failed. So once again, it's time for our person to meet his maker. So it's the night before. He's got a huge beard by now. It goes all the way down to his waist. And, first they cut it, and then they just shave it off. They shave his head, they shave his hair, they shave everything. And they ask him what he wants for his last meal. You might have surmised that he says he wants a barrel filled with sauerkraut and a single grape. They give it to him, and he scarfs it down, ravenously. Some of the people get nauseous looking at this much sauerkraut being eaten this quickly. But they look, and the grape is still there, just as always. Something of a legend. And so, the priest reads him his final rites that night. And the next day, they say, "Are you ready, son?" He said, "Yes." They wheel him out to the center of this stadium, and hundreds of people are booing him or cheering or gasping or eating hot dogs, who knows. And the governor of California walks out with one of those old-timey boxing mics that's somehow hanging from something. And he says, do you have anything to say for yourself, son? Do you have any last words that you want to tell the people before, we make an example of you, blah, blah, blah. And they hold the mic close, and there's just a moment of feedback. Everyone's quiet. He just goes, rutabaga. And so by now you've figured out they're going to strap him into a chair. They're going to put a little bowl on his head with a little curlicue. Looks like a pig's tail. And this chair is so powerful that they have trained a monkey to ride in on a unicycle and flip the switch. Because if a human touches the switch, it's too much of a risk. They might die. So the time has come. In front of this whole stadium, the monkey rides out on the unicycle, flips the switch, instantly turn to ashes. All of the lights in the entire state of California go out, and all the electricity, because there's so much being routed to this stadium to fry this man. In fact, even the lights in the stadium go out. It goes completely black in the stadium. No one knows what's happening. People are gasping. Some people are crying. But after, 2 or 3 minutes, suddenly the lights flicker back on. And the man is just sitting there in the chair, looking out kind of blankly at everyone. And the governor is furious. He throws his little hat on the ground. He storms into the state arena. They have another monkey ride in to turn off the switch. And the governor picks up his little microphone and goes, "Sir, I, at this point, am beyond furious. I'm mainly just, gobsmacked. I'm in awe. Perhaps this is truly some sort of miracle. I'm so confused. If you tell me how you evaded, if you tell me how you survived all these times, I promise I will give you a full governor's pardon in front of all of these people. I promise you." And he hands the mic to the guy. The guy sheepishly kind of clears his throat. He says, "All my life, I've been a poor conductor." And that's the trolley joke. Bye.